It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by AgileDad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. Keeping in the theme of Agile 2023 this week, I was having a conversation with a dear friend of mine, and we were talking about some of the takeaways from the conference. And I heard someone referring to a story. Now, I've heard the story before, and I don't believe I've shared it, but I'm going to go ahead and share it here because I think it's just an incredible story. So here we go. So there was a young lady, and she was going to Europe on vacation. And while she was in Europe on vacation, she was warned about pickpocketers and the like. And she got approached by someone who was in a car, and they rolled down the window and they said, "I'm sorry, I hate to bug you, but I saw you have your phone there. Is there any way you can give me directions to this particular place?" And they spoke perfect English, and they just said they were visiting and they didn't have their phone didn't have a SIM card, and they would appreciate it if she could help them look up instructions. And of course, who are we if we're not willing to help someone else, right? So she was definitely willing to help them with directions and try to get things figured out. And as she was doing so, what she didn't realize was that this person had other people on the street who, at that very moment, were pickpocketing her and her father. And they ended up with opening their purse, taking out her wallet, taking out everything she had, putting her wallet back in her purse empty. They took her dad's wallet, emptied it, put it back. I mean, these people are so slick at what they do. And then after, he said, she was trying to explain the directions. He says, can you come a little closer so I could see the map? And he reached out a window, grabbed his cell phone, and the car sped away. And when she went screaming for police to help, everybody laughed because by the time she ran for police, the other people were long gone. The phone was long gone. They had no money, no phone, no anything. But the good news is they left their passports back at the hotel, so at least they had that. Now, you're probably wondering, how does this relate to me? How does it relate to Agile? And how does it relate to Agile 2023? What she said was, sometimes we don't pay for the product or service, but sometimes what we pay for is the experience. And one of the things that I saw on the product track at Agile 2023 was that there were a lot of different presentations or a lot of different seminars or workshops where it was all focused on building better product and techniques and transitions and all these cool things, but none of them focused on the real reason we need to build a better product. The real reason we need to build a better product is so that our customer can better relate to what we build, but at the same time, so that we can have people pay for the story because they want to pay for the part that they actually use. They want to pay for the experience. And I think that sometimes we block that out because at the end of the day, people want to have three factors. They really do. They want to make sure that we are providing them with these three things. If you can provide people with these three things, you're going to be successful, your company's going to be successful, and everyone's going to live happily ever after. All right, so what are these three things? The first thing you need to have is you need to have trust. And that's trust in the process, trust in the people, trust in what you're trying to build, trust that you're building the right thing. It's even scarier when I say trust for people who don't have too much skin in the game already, or for people who've been burned in the past, right? So it's one of those things where trust is a key element to all of this. Without trust, we kind of have nothing. Okay. The second one's control. Now, people like to be in control of their own environment. They like to be able to determine their own destiny. They like to have just enough control to be comfortable, but they don't want too much control because they don't want it to become dangerous. So it's one of those things where how do we give control or maintain control without breaking that element of trust? And I think that's the more interesting question, right? So while trust is a crazy parameter because it's hard to tie back to empathy, it's one of those things where if you have trust, well, first of all, if you can go in without bias, then you can have trust. And if you can have trust, then it makes it easier for you to have some level of control. It makes it easier for you to have some level or some ability to figure out beyond, hey, I know who the customer is, to where we're trying to go. And then, of course, the third one is emotions. People love emotional highs and lows, and they love to talk about them. They love to write about them. And I think that if we can catch people on that roller coaster where they're emotionally high about our product or service, that's how you're going to get some of those glowing reviews. And, it's just really interesting to me because at the conference, I sense so many people who are being so product driven and product specific, or how should I put this, output specific, that I didn't hear as much focus on outcomes. And I thought that was probably more shocking than I thought. I thought I was going to hear a lot more about outcome driven design and outcome driven development or outcome driven products. And I think people were just fast, or they were worried about if you do this, how do you tie back and make sure that you have a solid product or service in the end. And I think that, they were so focused and worried about, did we include every feature, that they forgot about what's going to make the consumer the most happy. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I've been down that path many years ago. And what I saw was we ended up building products that made the business incredibly happy, but the user just really didn't care about. But there is the other side of the pendulum. I've seen people who focused on everything the consumer needs, and strategically it took the product or service or even the whole company in the wrong direction. So what I'm trying to say is it's important to have a combination of both, but make sure that you utilize the tools that you have in order to best understand your customers, so that you can build empathy with them, and so you can learn the importance of focusing on outcome instead of output. All right, so that's going to do it. Nice and short and sweet. If you have a topic you want us to cover, learn more at AgileDad.com. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.